You know, that's one of the fundamental questions that I'm wanting people to ask themselves, kind of in that. Why are we drawn to them? In my prologue, that's my first question. Why are we drawn to them? I mean, kids just coming out of into the world are immediately drawn to animals and stay drawn to animals, and then we kind of move away from them because we're not in their territory. We don't pay attention. We're just with all our little iPhones and iPads and, you know, never looking anyplace. And you lose touch because we don't live within their rhythms unless you deliberately do it. And that's the big difference, is being deliberate. And then suddenly you all of a sudden start noticing everything and they start noticing you. And it's this, what's going on here? The idea of the book was to see something new. And I kind of also saw that it was kind of a doorway to being connected with animals, to seeing that there were all these doors that the animals were constantly opening for us, and we never took them, or rarely took them. And yet, they're a reflection of life on Earth for a long, long time, and they have their own unique things that we know nothing about. And again, to see commonalities between the snake and us is a whole new way of seeing the snake and seeing us. Okay, this was a project that my older brother strongly suggested. He said he had this concept for a long time and he wanted me to consider it. Knowing that, especially after I got so ill, he said that he thought that it would be a really special thing if I would write about my experience and my somewhat quirky view of things and animals and my perspective of animals. He knew that I really didn't have very many options to do what I was used to doing and being out there with the animals, so he thought his idea would be that I could do this, and it would be for them too, the animals too. So I thought it's got to be in that way. It's got to be a story, and it's got to be enough to bring people with me for the story, but also feel connected in a way, because I'm not going to be talking about dry stuff. I'm not going to be talking about facts and figures necessarily about the animals, or taking a position and saying this is how it is and this is how you should look at them and this is what they're like. So that's what I decided it would be my tack to take on this, and I hope that it would work. It could be an interactive. I would also use my illustrations for it, and then I counted on it being still the voice of the animals. That was the part that was important, because we tend to think of us and them, and it really isn't. But the more we think of us and them, the fewer things in common we find useful. So that's the gateway to my comments as far as carrying on in this spirit of possibilities. So that's what's behind this. So being outdoors a lot and hiking a lot, this example sort of fell into my lap, and it was all the coyote's doing, not mine. And she was the choreographer, she was the producer, and she was the product, and she did a stellar job as a very obviously humorous situation in which she was aware of her humor, and it was truly a joke to her, and I was just the right person to have that joke with. Was how I felt about it. And then her kind of giving me a farewell, kind of flippantly, was that moment of connection when I realized how deliberately she was playing with me and getting a personal bit of humor out of the whole thing. And so this was not something that people think about when they think about coyotes. And yet it was a mutual thing when we got together, and it turned into what the coyote wanted. And I went along with it and understood it, even at the same time as I was wondering, well, this is a wild animal. Oh my gosh, you know, what's happening here? So that's why I wrote about it. So this is an episode from my book, and the title of this segment is called "She Who Laughs Last Gets the Joke." One of the most blatant instances of wild animal humor took place in Yellowstone, which, as previously noted, is one of my most favorite places to be. So I was especially disposed to paying deliberate attention to its incredible beauty and diversity as I walked across a frost-sparkled field. Even so, I missed catching the swish of something moving in the tall grasses until the coyote pulled up next to me. What's going on, I wondered, expecting her to recognize our mutual possibility of danger. I walked faster, ignoring her, but she trotted along with me at just the correct distance that a heel command would elicit. I looked at her face, tilted up to read my face. We kept walking together. I wondered if she was actually someone's pet coyote, or if she was high on peyote or something, some drug. Yep, I was getting nervous about the whole thing. Once in a while, she would dash off to check on some possible prey, then returning quickly to my side. By then, I was looking for ways to shoo her away. We came across one of the paved-way roads. Along came a car. I stopped at the road edge to wave it down and ask for a ride. But it was already slowing, pulling up next to me. The coyote stopped with me and sitting alertly, oh, such a well-behaved doggy, looking up at the people in the car. Before I could get a word out, the man driving motioned to his wife to lower the window to speak, while the 3 kids in back gawked. He began angrily berating me for not having my dog on a leash and scolding me for how remiss I was. What a bad example. I looked at the coyote. Couldn't they see it was plainly a wild coyote? She looked seemingly adoringly up at me. What I read in her golden, intelligent eyes was, "Isn't this a marvelous joke?" The car drove off. The coyote stood up, still looking at me with a wide, panting grin. Then she loped off into the woods across the road, never looking back. The trickster indeed.